What's up, guys? Yeah, this is pretty much my gaming setup. Uh, yeah, let me give you the grand tour. It's a lot of little things. The top I just keep for like you know various things that I leave here and there, like my HDMI cables, my laptop, some games that I'm playing here and there. I have my PS3 hooked up there too because I'm literally running out of room. So uh, let's talk about the monitor. So this is what made me start the Facebook group. Um, I have right here a BVM D24E1WU. I got it for a decent price. I picked it up in Hackensack in Jersey. Um, yeah, it's really nice. It's very heavy, very heavy. It's 113 pounds. Um, Very wide too. I had to get a. This is like technically a garage stand. It holds up to 500 pounds per shelf. So I figured anything wouldn't be very wise to put this on. You can, but over time it's just gonna like concave, and I'd rather just not deal with that. Um, it takes almost everything I've thrown at it: 240p, 480i, 480p, 720p, even 1080i. It takes composite, component, RGBS, SCART with converters, and HDMI also. Just it's a really versatile monitor. Um, all right, so let's work our way down to the next shelf. My original Xbox, nothing crazy. I have the component cables for it. Um, the next thing over, let me just move this. I got it. That's my analog NT. That's the second production model, which I'll just show you. You can hold that for a sec. The bottom here, it's clear. That's a second production model. And this is the original NT. It's not the NT Mini. So, unfortunately, I can't do analog and digital out. It can only be either one or the other. It's a hardware limitation, so that's why I just have it hooked up through HDMI. And honestly, it looks very nice on this monitor, even with like the scan lines that it generates. The next thing over is the Panasonic Q. That's a Game Boy, I'm sorry, GameCube with a DVD player built inside. Very nice. Panasonic and Nintendo teamed up and they made a really sleek looking console. I'll just turn it on just to show you what it looks like. It lights up, has an LCD screen on the top. Um, yeah, it's a little loud, but it's nice. On the bottom of it is the right here, this little gray thing is the Game Boy player for the Panasonic Q. That actually is very rare. It was only released in Japan, of course, just like the console, but it was released on a website called Panasense, and you would only be able to order it online. And since the popularity of this console really wasn't very much popular, not a lot of units sold, but it's still kind of a nice little add-on to have, and that's why it fetches for a pretty penny, as well as the console itself. Last thing about the console, it plays multi-region like games, so it plays American and Japanese games without any boot discs or anything, like no mod chip, no nothing. So pretty cool. On the bottom, I have two Extron pieces of equipment. I'll start with the top one. The top one is the Extron RGB 203 RXI. That is a sync processor. So what you do with those things is you feed it any type of sync, whether it's RGBS, RGSB, or RGBHV, and it spits it out however you want. Um, One of the two uses that I like using it for is my laptop and my Dreamcast, and I'll get to the Dreamcast thing in a second. The bottom piece right there is the Extron Super Mosha. I just recently got it. What that does, and not to long story short with that, it takes a 480p signal and turns it into a 240p signal. So it's pretty much it creates scan lines or blanking lines in your image, and it gives it that retro look. It's really nice. Moving on to the next piece on the right side, that's a DVDO iScan HD Plus. That is technically, I I guess it's like an upscaler when you think about it. It takes any image 480p and up to I believe 1080p, and it shoots it out however you want. The inputs are both. Actually, it takes a few. It takes composite S video component with a sync next to it. It's really weird. VGA and DVI. So I run my HDMI sources through that to customize it however I want to output it as and show it up however. It's really, really neat. Thing on top is a G-SCART switch. That is a SCART switcher. It's automatic. It has 8 SCART inputs, and it shoots out simultaneously both SCART and VGA style out. It's really nice. Actually, I have 2. I'll show you. There's one there, and there's one up here.
Ah, you got another one.
Yeah, I got this one for like half off. I don't know, some guy was just selling it, and I was like, does it work? I put it through its paces, and it works perfectly. So, and as of this moment, like we're recording, this is a G-SCART switch, or G-SCART switch 3.4. As of now, I don't think they make this anymore. They make the G-SCART Lite. So the Lite, instead of having the VGA out and this, it has 2 SCART outs. Yeah. The cool thing about the new one is that it has kind of a, I don't really know the right word for it, but it has something to fix some sort of sync issues. So this one kind of doesn't have that, but you'll barely run into that, if I'm not mistaken. Really quick, the last thing under here is the, that's from Monoprice. It's an HDMI to SDI converter. What I do is I take my HDMI sources and convert it to SDI, and I plug it into the back of my monitor, the Bcam 42 HD, which takes in an HD SDI input. And that's 720p and 1080i. So that's how I'm able to see my HDMI sources. All right, and a little tower here. This is my Hitachi High Saturn Navi. This came out in like December 1997 or 1996, I forgot, mid to late 90s. It was rumored that only 2,000 of these were made, and the reason for the low numbers is because it was very expensive, and this is a car navigation system. You see over here, if you zoom in, it says GPS right there. So this was able to navigate you wherever you wanted to go. It would load CDs and have an antenna on the back. And the LCD monitor here is very, very rare. If they said that only 2,000 of these were made, only 1,000 of these were in production.
Wow.
So a lot of people would even pay even more than the console itself. I had someone on my YouTube channel offer me $4,000 for the monitor alone.
Ooh.
I was like, I'm never selling this thing. I think it was $4,000. He offered me an absurd amount of money. I'm like, no. And it looks really, really nice. It's kind of small, but it's all dot matrix, so it looks really nice. You'll definitely see it in a few. Actually, forgot to mention something else about this too. The owner of this, he modded it to have RGB out and multi-region compatibility, so this plays all region games, and it shoots out in RGB. So, yeah, it looks really, really nice. All right, on the bottom here, we have the Victor Wonder Mega RGM1. So this console was made by Victor, which is JVC in Japan, and they actually made a Sega Genesis and a Sega CD combined. This console, when it turns on, it lights up a little bit. Oh, I don't have it plugged in.
Take 2.
Nah, it's all right. The light comes on here. It's green on the sides, and the cool thing about this, there's no open button anywhere. These are sound options, and then the reset button. I think it could work, but primarily what you do is you take your controller, you go in the menu, you use the open button, and the lid just kind of like pops up, and then it goes down. And I've never seen a motorized lid. I've seen motorized trays, like the PS2 and all that jazz, but I've never seen a motorized lid. That's really cool. This one in particular, I had it modded. I had it modded for two things, just like this one. The Genesis or the Mega Drive side only takes like Japanese region games. I had it modded so it can do American and Japanese games. Unfortunately, for the CD side, I don't think there's a mod for that. You'd need a universal BIOS chip, and I don't want to fuck with that. That's yeah, it's kind of like it's too much. So what I do is I use a Mega EverDrive to load different BIOSes, and I load them on whatever I want. So I load like an American BIOS, and I play my American games with this cartridge. Yeah. And if I didn't mention, it also has I modded it also, or somebody modded it for me that has that makes it do RGB out. So I use you know, like my SCART cables for this as well. And then I think that's the most interesting stuff. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I have my N64 here that I just wanted to hook up to show composite video because I got a new BKM 24N card and it works really, really nicely. I have my PS2 down here. Nothing really to say about it. My SNES and my Dreamcast. So what I wanted to get to about my Dreamcast is I have a Toro box in the back. It's kind of tucked away in there. The Toro box is a VGA box that allows you to output in 480i or 480p, or 240p, 480i, and 480p. It has both SCART and RGB out. And the problem with that is that box and the G-SCART switch thing on the bottom, they don't like each other. So unfortunately, I have to plug that the Toro box into my Xtron RGB 203 RXI. So that cleans up the sync. And yeah, that's my collection in a nutshell. You know, it's a lot of stuff, and I love it all. It's really cool.
Definitely an awesome collection.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, do you guys have any questions, or just, I don't know.
Plenty of stuff.
What to play first?
What to play first?
Yeah.
What is your first choice of gaming here? You have so many choices.
Honestly, I love Mega Man 8, so I think I'd love to show that off.
I know.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I got Legacy Collection too.
I couldn't tell if you liked Mega Man much.
No,
Not you know,
You know.
nothing ridiculous.
Not very much. Just a tad. Yeah, we can load that up if you guys want. It'll look really cool.
I have a very good question to ask.
Yeah, what's up?
With the analog NT,
Mhm.
and I did mention before to you that I was thinking about getting the new super analog system.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that you said that that was the second one,
Mhm.
and that had some issues with, what did you say, with manufacturing?
Oh, that it can't do both digital and analog output, right?
Yeah, how do you feel now with that? They're using the was it the FPV boards or
Oh, FPGA?
FPGA?
Well, for the analog NT Mini, that's what they went to. They started using FPGA boards, and that it allows the, I guess, analog to output both digital and analog outputs. This right here, the first and second model of the analog NT, they're actual CPU and PPUs from Famicoms. So it's actual hardware running or integrated on the motherboard. How I feel about the Super NT, you know, I gotta be honest, with a monitor like this, I can't really take advantage of the Super NT because it'll be HDMI only. Although it looks really nice for like modern day like displays, I can't see myself using. Okay, if it's a console like the PS3 or the Xbox One or even the Switch that has HDMI only, that's acceptable. And those are like really nice graphics, you know, like it's modern, it's today's like stuff. But for something that's like 16-bit, even 8-bit, stretching it out, having it on here, it looks nicer if it's on RGB. If it's on HDMI, well, you'll see it. It looks good, but it could look way better, you know? So that's my spiel about it. I think it's a great console for people that have modern day like displays, but in my setup, it just doesn't work.
Mega Man.
Mega Man.
All right.
Mega Man.
All right. I have the game in here.